I'm just sharing what I find comfortable working with. With large pieces, such as this box right here, I just kind of go right in with my snips and just get it off the main sprue fret, just to get it off. And now it's off, it's detached from the sprue, it's separated. I can put my snips down and see where I need to cut. And as you can see, there's these two ends right here. Okay, and they're still kind of chunky, they're still kind of big, so I really don't feel like using this. Again, I may break the tip and I may hurt myself, so I'm going to just lay this thing down here. And again, I don't know if you can see it, but you know, it's not flush with the board because there's some for glue and attachment pins, and this is where having a high board comes in kind of handy. I don't know if the angle is right, but what I can do is just hang the pins right off the edge. And so now my piece is flush right with the board, and I got a lot of control with the blade. And all I got to do is come down with vertical motion and make my cuts. And again, you want to get as close to the surface as possible without damaging the actual part that you need. It's okay to leave a little bit of a bump or a little edge, because now you can come in with your other X-Acto blade and you're going to have more control, and you just want to start trimming the piece off. And again, don't worry about cutting too deep. You don't want to get all of it off, because now once you get most of it off, you can start working with your sanding paper or files. I usually use a lot of files for some reason. I may make another video later down the road talking about jeweler files and how they're used. And so there it is. And that's nice. This is a nice easy piece. It's big, easy, but you know, once you get into model building, you realize, well, you know, some of these pieces are really small, and you're right, and some of them are very fragile. So let's go to another piece. I have this bar right here, really thin piece. It's almost like a wire, and you know, using your larger blade, and again working with the topography of the sprue, most likely I'm going to probably break this piece. It's going to get bent or damaged, and do I really want to do that? No, I don't. I want to keep as many pieces together as possible. In this case, I probably will not use any blades at all. I'll probably just use my Dremel tool. This is my Dremel. So again, it's an older Dremel tool. This goes back that my father had. This is probably late 70s, early 80s Dremel, and it has this sanding disc for sanding. What I've discovered is it also has a nice cutting blade to it for small pieces. And I have no idea what the sound of a Dremel is going to be like on the microphone of this camera, so I apologize if it's too loud or is annoying. And for a Dremel for model building, just for everyone to know, you don't need to have it too high. I've always had it on setting. It has 7 settings. I've only used it for 1. And sometimes 2 if I had some serious cutting with a major cutting disc, which I'll talk about in other videos on the Dremel and more advanced model building situations that come up. So I'm just going to get this cut and see what happens. Well, before I actually cut it, I'll probably just talk about what I'm going to do, because I don't think you'll be able to hear me over the voice of the motor spinning. But I'm just going to take my cutting tool, and I'm just going to cut small incisions. I'm not going to get close to the object that I'm cutting. I'm just going to cut and leave just a little bit of the sprue hanging on, and just remove it from the sprue fret. And then once that's done, I'm going to be able to use my X-Acto blades to get a more controlled cut. So here we go. Alright, I forgot that I'm left-handed, so here's a problem. It'll just be a minute. Okay, and here it is. It's all cut, and again I left some sprue hanging off. That's okay, because now once I lay this on my cutting board, it's going to be more flush with the board, more flush than it would be had I cut it straight from the sprue fret. And for this, you always want to make sure when you're working with fragile pieces, in fact, when you're doing any cutting at all, make sure your blades are very sharp and relatively new. It's always a good rule of thumb to change your blades, swap them out. I'm trying to think. This blade's been on for quite a while, so I don't want to be a hypocrite, but unfortunately a lot of my blades are back home in New England in a storage unit, so I don't feel like buying more because I already have about 200 that I got on a great deal. So I've been using this one for a very long time, maybe a couple months, but all things being equal, I would change them out at least monthly, depending on how much model building you do. I seem to be building models at a pretty fast rate right now, probably due to my just lifestyle situation and work. I just moved into the Southwest, so I have a lot of free time right now, but next year I'll be back in school and I probably won't be building as much models. So I'm going to try to stop talking. A sharp blade, come in, again, going down, again, right against the board, and just make a vertical depression down, and it comes right off. Same thing right here, and oops, come right down, and it comes right off. Again, you don't need to go right to be flush with the object. You don't want to damage too much. You can go back in with sandpaper and another the detailing knife. And then my last sprue piece, and it comes right down. So now I've reduced the sprues pieces, and now there's really just a little bit hanging off there. So here we are with our blade again. Let's see, I was involved in the Boy Scouts of America for many years throughout my youth and my young adult years. I always remember reading the old Boy Scout manual saying, you know, never cut towards yourself. Always cut away. And again, all things being equal, that's a pretty good rule of thumb. I think wood carving and other very technical carving trades such as model building, you're going to have to kind of break that rule, and I find that you're going to have more control in some cases cutting towards yourself. Again, do what's comfortable and safe for you, and I'll just leave it at that. So here I got this piece, and at this point, you know, it's really not so much cutting. You're just kind of wearing down the whatever's left, and so I think cutting such a small piece like this, there's a real danger that I may just cut too much and actually damage the object. I usually just take my blade and I make it perpendicular to the object and just begin scraping away from you. You can come towards yourself, it doesn't really matter in my opinion. And you want to just start working that little bit of sprue and just get it off. And I really hope you can see this. I do apologize if you can't. I hope I'm using proper language and words so that you can at least visualize it in your mind, what I'm saying. And slowly what's going to happen is, as you're looking at that little piece of sprue, it's going to just start, the lines are going to disappear as everything just falls in flush with the object that you are working with. And just keep on going down the line. and I'm kind of impressed. It's kind of nice to go back and talk about a lot of these techniques that I think advanced model builders again take for granted, such as myself. I'm actually enjoying sharing this information with you. In one factor, it kind of helps me realize how much I have learned from model building over the years. And secondly, it's kind of nice to share it with people who, like yourself, maybe are new to the hobby, or it's been a long time since you've been working with models. And I certainly am a believer in practice makes perfect. That, you know, if I were to like just stop model building for a couple of years, I would probably be back watching and other YouTubers doing what I'm doing right now, and I'd probably be back reading a lot of the books on model building. And so I'm just really delighted to have this opportunity to share this with you all right now. And there it is. It's pretty good. Another factor when you're working with cutting is flash. Older model kits are going to have a lot of flash. The newer kits that are coming out, less so. But that's not to say that there's no flash at all. And what is flash? I'm not really I don't know much about plastics and chemistry. I'm a history guy by my education. But part of the molding process, the injection molding, is that there are two pieces coming together, a mold, and the flash is that leftover pieces. It's almost like the seam that kind of bleeds out a little bit and it's stuck with the fretboard. If anybody else has more knowledge of what actually goes on in the actual mechanics of making plastic models, I would love to hear about it. So please throw a commentary on it. And here's this piece, and it's pretty much ready to go. Yeah, it's got a little bit of bumps, but I just want to give a little demo on flashing and how to safely and effectively remove model parts off their plastic fretboard. I hope this video was informative. Again, this is not a comprehensive and exhaustive video on all the cutting situations that may occur in your modeling journey. This is just a small piece of that big model building pie that we all seem to be eating from. So there it is. I think my last topic, I will talk about plastic as such. This is from AFV Club, and the copyright of this kit is 2008, so that's relatively new as far as the technology of plastic molding and the kind of plastics that these manufacturers are using. This plastic is very hard and firm. It doesn't shatter or crack like you might see in some older kits. For example, I have some plastic from, this is a Monogram F84F Thunderstreak jet, which I'll be building in the future. Hopefully by the end of the year it'll be done, and I want to share that with you. But this plastic is definitely a lot different than this. It feels a lot different when you break it off, cut it off from the sprue. Sometimes there's going to be cracking, it might even shatter, and there'll be some discoloration. So how to avoid all that? I think be a little bit more tender with the older kits, and leave yourself a little wide margin, especially if you're working with small pieces such as these. But again, the same technique. The flash, there's a lot more flash on these, and so what's going to happen is it just comes down to time consumption. You're going to spend more time with the older kits taking out the flash. For someone who's new, or it's been a while since you've been in the hobby, it's a great discipline just to work on the older kits, because you're going to get a lot more experience getting flash off of this than you would with a newer kit. And again, new kits are going to cost a little bit more money. Older kits, it's going to be less so, and it might be more economically better in your favor. And I always say, if you're new to the hobby, work on older kits. I'm a very big advocate of using older kits, especially if you're new. Model building, like any hobby, it's an investment, and you're going to put money into it. And I think you need to be judicious or strategic about how you spend your money. We all have bills, we have mortgages, we have families and kids, and all these host of things that happen in our daily lives. And even though building models is my passion, it's not my profession. I don't get paid for doing this. I just do this out of a pure love for model building. And so I have to be kind of careful how I spend my money with regards to model building. Yes, do I really like the aftermarket stuff? Yes. Do I love the brand new kits that are coming out? Absolutely. But I have to wait. Maybe I have to build a brand new kit maybe once or twice a year and just work with the older kits. And that's okay, because there's a lot of positives that come from that. And maybe in later videos I'll talk about some of those experiences. So I think I've covered a fair chunk of working with knives and cutting. I really didn't expect to be talking this much about cutting pieces off sprues, but it was a lot of fun. So I hope that your model building is going well, and I wish you all the best. I wish you a good day, and I'll see you again sometime soon. Thank you. Ross Goslin signing out. Bye.